Hey, it's your boy Kai, and welcome to the Kyrus Has Friends Podcast, where I sit down with the people that matter the most to me, and those are my friends. Before we get started with my interview with my guest, Adam Bierman, please be sure to follow me on your favorite social media platforms. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at The Vibe with Kai, or you can visit my official website at thevibewithkai.com, where I am always posting blogs and visuals that'll help you do good, feel good, be good, and live a good life full of good vibes. You can also visit thevibewithkai.com to get your official Vibe with Kai gear. Get your hats, get your t-shirts, get your hoodies, and kick off 2021 in style with good vibe gear. My guest today is a TV show host and producer, along with being the host of the Breezin' with Bierman podcast, debuting very soon. Today, we talk about everything from the pandemic to the beauty of Princeton, running for political office in 2020, white privilege, and of course, censorship. Please note that this podcast interview features conversations about mental health and culture that may be triggering for some. Viewer discretion is advised. With that said, enjoy my interview with the one and only Adam Bierman. Welcome to my friend Adam Bierman. It's Bierman, right? Not Bierman. It's Bierman.
People said Bierman, Berman. It's Bierman. Yeah, and I found out it wasn't really my. It was. I found out this Ellis Island story. It was actually like my great grandmother's name, and my grandfather took it. His name, great-great-grandfather's name was Bzvinsky or something, and it's more anglicized, I guess. Or
okay,
something.
I gotcha. I just wanted to make sure I said it right because you are a guest on the Kyrus Has Friends podcast today, and I want to make sure that I said your name right because there's nothing worse than when I say a person's name wrong, which happens often, and I want to make sure I didn't mess that up.
I don't understand why people in personal life, if you steal my money or, hit on my wife, maybe then the name thing, it's just not. Come on.
I got
I don't expect perfection, and I'm not an emotional hemophiliac. So,
Well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you taking time to hang out with me on this beautiful day. Let me check in with you, my friend. It is February 2021. Yeah. How are you doing? How are you holding up? How is life?
COVID. You mean talking about COVID-19?
And just we'll get into that, but just in general, how are you holding up today, this week, this month, this year?
Oh yeah, well and stuff. I always, sometimes I feel like I'm in an angry Anne Frank mode. I want the Nazis actually to get me. Or so.
Oh my God!
Did I just break a rule there? And these are fake glasses too. I was just trying to change my look. I don't need glasses, but sometimes I feel like I'm in witness protection. But like you said, we were discussing earlier, never let a good crisis go to waste. And I accomplished some things during this time. Some things very practical. My basement petri dish down there, cleaned it out. Found old photos. It was like a recollection time for me. The history of Adam. I found pictures of us when we used to, when I was 2 years old, we moved in this house and everything.
Right. No, so let's talk pandemic, because I know you brought that up just now, and then obviously the pandemic, COVID-19 has been a vital part of many of our lives, whether we wanted it to be or not. What has pandemic life been like for you? Ever since March of last year when everything pretty much shut down, what has it been like for you?
I try to routinize because I've been working from home instead of going into work. And I found out it wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to be. I thought, just wake up in your underwear and hit the computer. But, maybe you notice I like to talk. I like to interact. And I found I did miss people more. Yeah.
No.
Your verbal masturbation has been a problem with me. But so I realized, and I think a little idea, I realized I should routinize. And I should also accomplish something. If I'm going to have this time, do something with it. Don't let the time do you, you do the time. So I did things like worked on my Spanish, cleaned up the garage, bought a new computer, decided to get away. Princeton TV, as I said before, was having some issues, which are, textbook for, I would have to say, dysfunctional small nonprofit. How cliche. But and the COVID had shut them down. So I said, start a podcast. So I slowly, and not neurotically, but piece by piece, day by day, we discussed this earlier, but I didn't stress about it. I just do one thing a day, learn about how I want this podcast to look. I've been playing around with Anchor FM. It didn't work for me. Different sites. I found someone. I finally realized if you can't do some certain things, pay them if you have the money, something like that. Yeah. So it's podcasting, still doing work. And then I ran for public office, didn't win. That's another story too. So yeah,
we're going to talk about that because I have some questions about you for you about that. So we're definitely going to talk about that.
On the school board.
I want to know some things, about that. But I mean, you are a Princeton man. You are you know everything about Princeton. Were you born there? Were you born and raised there?
Yeah. I went away for 10 years. When I went overseas, I was working at an American schools in El Salvador. Then I was living in DC. Then I was living in Ecuador and Taiwan. And basically, I came back with my wife. My dad being a doctor, we had a troubled pregnancy. What I'm saying, we didn't plan this. And my dad was a pediatrician in town, and then he was medical director at Rutgers. My point is, I came home with my wife, who's an Ecuadorian. We had some trouble with the pregnancy. We ended up never leaving.
Oh, wow.
And so homegrown and maybe going to be dying here at this point.
Yeah, I was curious. So, like, you know pretty much everything about Princeton. The ins and outs.
Oh, even where the bodies are buried. Einstein story with the bodies are buried. Yeah,
you're like the go-to man. You're like that go-to man when people need that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. If you want the gossip, the interesting trivia. Yeah.
What is your favorite thing about Princeton, New Jersey?
It's hard to say when you're from here. One thing I learned to value after coming back and growing up here, I didn't realize how diverse the intelligentsia was here. People come from it's like an international focus area, and people come from all over the world to live here. That's why we don't even have a Jersey accent. We don't have a South Jersey accent. We have the North Jersey accent.
I have a South Jersey accent.
I can tell. Yes.
South Jersey accent. Whenever I'm doing my podcast, like I'll use like my professional voice, but when I'm not paying attention and I'm just kind of talking, just like whatever, South Jersey. See, it just happened to start. Yeah, so like my Jersey accent will come shining through, especially when I am not paying attention at all.
And when you here's another point, when you have some wine.
Yes. So for those of you that don't know, and we're going to get into this a little bit later as well. I got to do your podcast. I filmed your podcast yesterday,
and I do thank you for that. You're great. Yeah, talking to you. I guess I wouldn't call myself professional yet. But we can talk, and I don't have to pull teeth, and it's a natural flow in chemistry. And one reason I called you is the last time we were on the show, I just played the audio of the interview I did with you. I forget what we were talking about. People were laughing.
Yeah.
It was they wanted to sit around and listen to it. And that says a lot.
Yeah, man. No, I had a blast, and I'm like, we need to make sure that we get him on mine. So we'll talk about that in a second. But so we talked about your favorite thing of Princeton, the diversity and all that. What would you say is your least favorite thing about Princeton?
Right. Well, this is more a current thing. I'm running for office. And again, this is it's not even a knock. It's just the way things are. You have a very woke tribal element here that's in the political circles. And they can be very dogmatic and closed-minded at times. Mm-hmm. And I find that I find it anti-intellectual, and I find it kind of insufferable. That's but that's more of that and it affected me when I ran for office too, because in any small town you only have a few people who are interested in local politics, and they're the ones who are interested. And not that they do a great job. They're bright, well-organized, man. I mean, these are people who are corporate giants, big-time lawyers who are using their downtime because they like politics, and they do a really good job organizing things, as I said. Sure. But it's just like any other political machine. Mm-hmm. So that's just my personal situation. What else I don't like? One, you can't change time. When I grew up, I called it like a suburboisie Huck Finn existence. It was a small town that you had to get to through the farms. Right. We roamed, free-range kids. And it was rural and stuff and quaint, and I didn't know enough to be bored. Nassau Street on the weekends when I was growing up. Back when I was a kid, you could play hopscotch.
No one around.
That's completely gone.
Back in my day.
Back in my day, let me tell you, yes.
Obviously, Princeton. I'm sure a lot of Princeton has been shut down, obviously because of the world being on fire and all of that. What do you miss the most? Because I love Princeton. I whenever I get a chance, like I live about an hour south of Princeton, but whenever I get a chance,
I'll still talk to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. But like one of the things I loved, like the atmosphere. I loved walking the campus at Princeton. I love going to the restaurants. Winberry's is one of my favorite restaurants there.
You like girls, that's why you go there.
I do like females, but like their food is good too. They have this really good like pot pie and meatloaf that I just
but something that looks like a chain, the food's pretty tasty. I'll say that. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, the food.
Go for Winberry's.
Really I miss the ice cream. I miss just walking around, all that kind of stuff. What do you miss the most about Princeton that's just not there right now because of the pandemic?
Can I am I allowed to back up and answer one more question?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
The other thing about Princeton, this is happening all over New Jersey, and I was just talking to you. You have a roommate, which is cool. Yeah. The New Jersey has become a minor Manhattan, Silicon. Princeton, especially, is like Silicon Valley. Not as bad. It's astronomical. The prices. One thing about Princeton being a focus area, money moves from all over the world. It seems to come here.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the amount. I mean, when I went door to door campaigning, I went to the nooks and crannies of the town. I didn't see McMansions. I saw real mansions. You know how much that costs to build today? Some of these mansions must be over $25 million.
Without
today to build. It's not like they had cheap labor yet. Yeah. And that's, so in one way it's good. If you're ever going to sell your house, you kind of want a lottery ticket. But the other way, we're losing our middle class. Which is sad. What do I miss about Princeton? I just miss the interaction. I miss the ability to go out and to me, I have that. Maybe you have the same thing. I always feel like I'm missing something.
Yes.
When I go to bed, something's going on.
I frequently am the sufferer of FOMO, fear of missing out, for sure.
That's it. Okay, I think we're the same, and it just intensifies. Mm-hmm. And of course, you can't circulate as much, and also change that mindset. I understand for the first time why people do go crazy in jail. Mm-hmm. And not that I'm not comparing myself to being solitary, but it's you can start obsessing about stupid things that really you wouldn't pay any attention to if you had a chance to move around a lot. Mm-hmm. And go uptown and be with your friends and play pickup basketball and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Absolutely. So one of the things that you kind of mentioned a few times here that I definitely want to talk about, you ran for office last year. You ran for office in
I've actually ran 3 times.
3 times. Wow.
Yeah.
So like obviously running for some sort of office, at any point in the last, I would say like 10 years, I'm sure has been like an interesting aspect. Can you talk to me? What was it like running for office in 2020 in the current world that we're living in now? What was it like for you running for office in 2020?
It was difficult for me because I was more of the outsider. Long story short, I ran for council the year before, but I ran as an independent, which making me a big outsider. So I didn't have access to any type of political machine. And then since especially when you're in locally, it's built on relationships. You need people to help you. Mm-hmm. And stuff, help you campaign door to door, drop off leaflets. You get, even though it's just you running for office, you get so busy, you need almost like your own PR person. Mm-hmm. So that was hard to organize because a lot of people, especially, didn't want you near them. Especially even when I started running, it was the beginning of the pandemic, so people were so paranoid. Yeah. Zoom call, and then especially with older people I had some more elderly people who were supporting me. They couldn't even work Zoom. It was really difficult to coordinate my campagn. Is what I'm trying to get to.
And I did
build relationships.
And correct me if I'm wrong. And I think you kind of alluded to this. So, were you a Democrat that did not run as a Democrat, or vice versa? Like, what was the story behind that there?
Well, long story short, I ran for the first time in 2018, and this is my take on it. I became a little disillusioned by what the clubby and it was pretty insular and clubbiness. Sure. Yeah. So when I ran again this is the Princeton Council, not the Board of Education, the local town government. I ran again. I ran it as independent. I just felt I had to. And I was, part of it. I knew in some ways it was political hara-kiri because these people would not forgive me for doing that, but I had to. I don't think we're living up to our values, especially when in Princeton, especially they keep on saying how inclusive they are. All the mantra of the woke left, lack of a better word. So then so that isolated me, and then when I ran for a school board, which is nonpartisan, I still had that baggage, because basically 20%, maybe at any time, you only have like a small percentage interested in politics. They were not going to help me. And in fact, they would campaign against me and they would pick people to run against me. So that made things difficult.
For an independent to actually succeed and win office in the Princeton area without the backing of that machine that you're
be pretty difficult. I mean, I think right now, and I know on the council, the last time they had independent, back when we were 2 towns with Princeton Borough and Princeton Township, and we finally united. But I think it's only once in like 40 years that's happened, right. Because they control where you're going to be put on the ballot, which is very important, especially with local elections when most people are low information and they don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And if you're on the top of the ballot, that can give you a 15% chance. So yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. Now, I think I could win if I got enough money or robot volunteers who would work, like 6 to 8 robot volunteers who would be knocking, I would have to target voters who might be susceptible, want to vote for me, and then knock on their doors, register them, keep on spreading the word. 3 to 6 times it usually takes before it sinks into anyone's brain. Sure. Adam's running. Oh, I should vote for him. Or I should register. That's how it really works. And I would need that. Again? Some people are asking me to run again. Now that I know what I know, unless I can maximize and have a discernible chance to win with that kind of strategy, which is pretty hard to come by. You need money, you need some micro data, you need some dedicated volunteers. Probably not.
Right. Would you ever consider? And this is just me asking out of pure curiosity. You talked about the political machine. That game that sometimes people have to play in order to make it in. To the office of their choosing. Would you ever consider becoming a part of that game in order to get into office?
Good question. If I knew what I knew now, I came in very naive. I thought it's local politics. Not that people have to agree with me, but it's going to be more like, thank God someone wants to run and be part of this. And we encourage anyone. And when I found it wasn't like that, looking back, maybe I could have hidden myself, played the game, speak to speak, and also, kind of kiss butt,
Sure.
Kind of kiss butt.
Do you think that any of the, drama, to say the least, from, like the presidential race and Senate and Congress, do you think that any of the drama from that affected things on a more local level for you?
It did. Unfortunately, it did. Again, for lack of a better, this woke left, they've turned, I've always said potholes do not care about party affiliation. On the local level, it's really not about party. It's about competence. It's basically keeping the streets clean, making sure the schools run, try to keep taxes down, manage the labor force. That's what it basically is. But no, it's become that. You have not only do they demonize anyone who doesn't think like them. If you're a Republican, they don't even want to talk to you. And I try to explain to them, the Republicans in this town, what's left of them, they're country club Republicans. They have nothing to do with Trump. They wouldn't vote for Trump. And again, potholes do not care, again, what party affiliation you are. But no, it comes right down. And then they build it like a machine. You get punished like a regular machine. Even if you might be right, it's like the Army. You've got to follow orders. And if you don't, you're punished.
Okay. Do you see that?
And that happens in the Senate. That happens, Nancy Pelosi does it. I'm sure now this guy McCarthy does it,
Do you think that comes from both sides, or is it just the left that you see this from?
Well, that's another problem with Princeton specifically. We don't have any other party. And that hurts democracy too. There's no one to prod, push, bring up other, in a way, I'm like the loyal opposition in my mind. We don't have any Republicans left in this town.
Do you consider yourself a Republican? Do you consider yourself like more in line with what they believe in, just on a, like, not like the Trump type of Republicans, but just the type of Republicans that you're speaking of, the clubhouse?
No, that's a changing definition. Traditionally, Republicans were for small government, small taxes. They weren't big on the social issues. That was more in the 80s and 90s and everything. Maybe more Republican when it comes to local government. Yeah, because I just want efficiency. I want competency. I don't want to throw money. And they have this idea, you throw money at a problem, which is, if you threw, like, look at the public schools. So there's some poor public schools we've thrown tons of money at. That is not a guarantee of raising grades. That doesn't guarantee college acceptance. It doesn't guarantee literacy. It's people. It's programs. It's building systematic change over time and stuff. Am I making sense? I'm kind of...
Yeah, absolutely. No, it makes sense. So one of the things that I know that I've had to grapple with, and we don't have to talk about this much longer, but I think it's an intriguing...
Whatever you want. It's your show. It's your dime, man.
Then we're going to talk about it, damn it. No. So one of the things that I was grappling with, especially towards the end of the campaign in 2020, and even afterwards and to this day, I see a lot of people that obviously have opposing views to me. Like I consider myself a liberal. I consider myself, I wouldn't say I'm like woke left, but I consider myself left.
What do you mean, on cultural issues or?
Yeah. But to me, like, it's not a political thing. Like, for example, like wearing a mask. right? To me, that's not a political thing. And whenever I say that, people are like, "Oh, he must be like one of those left-leaning Bernie bros." No,
Unfortunately, isn't that
just like
so sad?
wear a mask, right? It's not a political issue. But like, there's a couple other issues that we could easily bring up. That I sit here and I'm thinking, am I in the wrong here? Right? Am I like, because I hear all of these conspiracy theories and people like, oh, you're just a sheep and you're just this and you're that and you just believe anything that is pointing at you, stuff like that. And I think to myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I wrong? Right? Am I in the wrong here? And then I'm like, no. I mean, there's just legit facts on my side that people sometimes ignore. And I realize that I end up having these disagreements with people that.
Do they listen to? Are they really even listening to you though? Either.
That's the thing. I can't. Obviously, I don't go into any disagreement saying I'm going to change this person's mind. But like, I had a conversation with somebody earlier this week about white privilege. Right. The person that I was speaking to does not believe that white privilege is real.
Me, I'm pissed off. I wanted it to stay.
but this person was like adamant that white privilege is.
But that's a loaded statement. You have to be a little more specific when you say it, though.
About white privilege.
What's the basis about white privilege? Is it basically if you're white, you have certain built-in advantages that you're saying, generally speaking?
100%. Like if there was a white version of me right next to me right now, and both of us were walking outside, and it's dark out, right? And something happens and the police don't know who it is that did this thing, the white person probably, unfortunately, has the advantage here because of societal, ideology that people believe that the person, of darker skin color probably committed this act. If I walk outside in a hoodie, and the white version of me who makes the same amount of money, who does the same podcast, that likes the same stuff, walks out in a 3-piece suit. The only difference is he's white in a suit, and I'm black in a hoodie. That's an advantage, right? That's just a natural advantage that's out there.
It's natural, but how much does it affect you? And it could affect your life in certain situations, deadly. But those are like specific situations that could come up. My thing, and I'm not saying there's not privilege or systemic racism in some areas, but I look at it this way: and because people fought for this, black and white people. Yes. That's why sometimes I get upset. Not with you. I get when some people go, someone looked at me the wrong way instead of joke. I'm more like about me, and maybe that's like deal with it. These are not real issues. Real issues is when you couldn't get a bank loan. Real issues is when you couldn't go to the school you wanted to go to because of your color. Real issues is when you're what's the red line? You couldn't live where you wanted to live. That is,
I get what you're saying, though I will refute in regards to what a real issue is, right? Because like if I go into a grocery store and somebody, looks at me and just has this preconceived notion that I might do something simply because of the color of my skin, it might not be a big issue to most, but as a black man, that's a big issue to me.
So you're saying it affects your psyche, though? Does it happen enough?
100%.
I can't speak to that because I've not gone through that.
So like if I go jogging down the street, right, so I have to be mindful about how I present myself, because when I go jogging, I wear a hoodie, right, and I have my
Trayvon Martin. You're Trayvon Martin in it.
I live in a very white neighborhood. I live in Haddon Heights, New Jersey.
Oh,
incredibly white.
I will talk to you then. I will talk to you.
Right, like I'm in an incredibly white neighborhood. When I go running down the street, and like this is the kind of neighborhood that people out with their families, they're walking their dogs, they're like all this stuff. I have to be mindful about how I present myself as I'm going through this neighborhood, because it can come off in a way that it makes people uncomfortable, and it sucks. And like majority of the people here, I haven't had any major issues with anybody here, but that is something that I have to keep in the back of my brain, and that to me is a big issue because that changes how I am. Right? There's this thing where
because it's constant. Because it's chronic, though. It's chronic.
Yeah, I have to like
my neighbor. Yeah, my neighbor who was grew up. He was in World War II. He was a man of color and everything, but he had a PhD. He's probably one of the few blacks with a PhD in the 1940s. Mm-hmm. He said no matter what, there was, and this is when things were worse, there was always a black tax. And Brian Gumbel said the same thing. Sports. I think what you seem to be talking about is the black tax. Mm-hmm. And Brian Gumbel said, I'm not emotional hemophiliac. Brian Gumbel's like, hey, if you don't dig me, F you, I don't really care. But it does, he said, it's wary. It sucks. It's wary. And also just when you go through borders, mm-hmm. who does number one and getting body search, you get pissed off sometimes. So is that what you're I'm trying to get what you're saying. Yeah. You feel, and also I believe you. I see you as a straightforward guy. You don't do this. Yeah. Unfortunately, this has become so politicized. People use it. I know black people in this town, in Princeton, who use it for their own political gain. They weaponize it, and they take something that's serious for their own being people for their own political gain. But you seem like a straightforward, bottom line guy. You wouldn't BS.
I'm a pretty straightforward guy, and like I recognize the variety of aspects that come into this, because it's not just a pardon the pun.
It's not black and white.
Right. It's not a black and white issue here. But I think that sometimes people will not take it as seriously, mainly because they haven't lived this life. Like they just don't know what it's like to be a black man or black person.
I don't get. I do not get. In fact, I get the opposite a lot. Mm-hmm. I get people trusting me. I get people. I think, and I think if I was black, it might be a whole different ball game.
Absolutely. And one of the things that the person I was speaking with earlier this week brought up, he said, it's not a black-white issue. It's a economic issue, in regards to, the class, like the economical classes that are.
Class does play into it, but
it does.
The only difference is poor white people are able to get out.
Exactly. And that's what I try. And that is Adam, I'm so happy you said that, because that's exactly what I tried to get across to him. I said, listen, nobody is saying that there's no such thing as a poor white person, because there definitely are, and lower class citizens in this country have just struggled immensely.
Hillbilly elegy,
right. Yeah. It's awful, and it's so sad to see, right? The unfortunate part is that when it comes to the lower class, when it comes to poor neighborhoods, unfortunately, a majority of those neighborhoods, majority of the people that live in those neighborhoods are people of color. Right. So nobody is saying that only black people are capable of being poor. But what we are saying is that the poor areas that are in this country, most of them consist of people in urban areas that are people of color. Right.
And the remnants of that is redlining. And that's the remnants of racism, of the welfare system. Some of it was well-meaning, but I think basically was counterproductive in some ways. Mm-hmm. And then you get the inner city, and what I call that inner city chaotic life, where things become unstable, and then people just get caught up in in bad light. It perpetuates everything.
I'm glad we got to have this talk. This has been a talk that I had with a couple people this week, and I'm happy that I got to get your insight on it. And I do want to ask you one thing, because I do want to talk about your show and your podcast a little bit too, because I have some questions about that. One of the things that I always like to ask people that have podcasts and shows and stuff like that.
Put on my glasses.
You are a recognizable face, right, and personality, whether you want to admit it or not.
Where? Tell me. I would like to know. I'd like to know where. My bank account doesn't show it, but
you're more than just like an average person, because you put yourself out there. You record yourself. You broadcast it to hundreds and thousands of homes in the New Jersey area. There's a better chance that people know who you are than some other random person that doesn't do that. Am I correct when I say that? Right.
It's funny you say that. I realize now, especially in town, with that person staring at me, usually because they look mad because I said something, but so that's happened. Now I realize a lot of times people are going like, I've seen that guy, or he said something.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess you could a minor celebrity.
Yeah. Like it's like, what is it like? Because like I got recognized at a restaurant, and it was the first time that I had ever gotten recognized, and it was somebody that happened to follow me on TikTok, and they're like, oh, and I was like, what?
Isn't that the power? Isn't that the power of TV? It's like the God thing. It's a God thing. Even today with fractured media and people, if you're on TV still, there's something, you're somehow akin to the media God, and there's something about you that's supernatural. Maybe some of it's too that you have the nerve. A lot of people are scared, afraid of this. They elevate it to such a high priesthood
Right.
And in some ways, you're right. We should be. A lot of people can't do what we do, but that's maybe we have no other choice too. I tell them.
Now, as somebody that is a TV show host, a podcast host, a politician.
Again, let's say very local. I'm not. I'm not a poser. I'm not. I'm not 60 Minutes.
No, but you are. Do you not host a TV show? Do you not host a podcast?
Yeah, for a long time. Yeah, Princeton TV. Yes,
right, exactly.
Yes.
Are you not a politician?
Yes.
You are. Okay. So I'm right. You're wrong. I win. That's
and this is my Protestant side being too much. Yeah, right. So
I'll humble brag for you. So
okay.
With that being said, do you find that you ever have to, I guess, since you live under this, however big of a microscope you think it may or may not be, do you ever feel that you have to be mindful of what you do and say because people recognize you or might take your word more so than or might hear your word more so than any other person?
I don't know if they take it. That's a $64,000 question. Mm-hmm. Being a little bit unfiltered, at the same time looking for ratings, which I was at the time. It's a balance, right? Especially if you want to run for office and stuff. So, but in terms of an influencer, not yet. I think you're much more of an influencer. Also, you deal in people's psyches. You let people open up to you. In a way, you've invited, and you would have to. I would say you have to accept it. You've invited a big responsibility on your shoulders, where you actually could say words.
Yes, it
could affect someone's life. I never said I was going to do that. And I never said that I wanted to be in control or I was an influencer. So right now, no. If I got to that point, yeah, I was joking about suicide. Yesterday we were saying, I said I could never do your show because I'd tell someone, "Oh, just kill yourself." It was more of a joke. Believe it or not, when I've joked with people who were suicidal, they laughed. It put a smile on their face. So what I'm getting at, you have to judge every situation on a one-to-one situation. But if I was on the mass media, and if it was really followed, I would think differently about some of the comments I said.
So
yes,
that's fair. So like we'll take that one for instance. So if somebody saw that and maybe potentially out of context and they might see you say that, and would you understand how and why they would be upset?
Yeah, I mean, and again, now we're getting legal ethics and everything. How much responsibility do I have for someone else? I don't know, on the air. But yes, it would still make me consider voluntarily maybe not going that route next time. If someone's on the edge and I don't need to push them over. But then again, it's a business too. And if I get bigger, you think about numbers, you think about ratings, you think about what's working. Controversy.
But I do want to challenge you here because I think words matter. Words matter. I think more so than you're kind of making it seem, right? Like especially because to you it may not seem like much. Like you're like, hey, I'm making a joke, blah blah blah. But
yeah. To a sane, normal person, if they're listening, yes, Adam, I don't appreciate it maybe, but of course he doesn't.
But there might be people that might have experienced something that's a trauma for them, or they are on the edge.
But I'm not. But that's where you're wrong, especially if I'm on a mass media. Unless it's one-on-one and it's a clear present danger, like I'm talking to someone one-on-one, or even no, come on, that's chilling speech. I can't. You can't react to what everyone's thinking.
But you're doing it for ratings, you say, right?
Well, let's say that irreverent humor worked though, and it was getting but it worked and it was fun. Also, it has to be funny. If I'm not funny doing it, no, I don't want to do it. But if it's funny and it makes people laugh, and again, conversely, it could help. You could say conversely, it could make someone laugh and lighten them up and go, yeah, I'm taking myself, I shouldn't kill myself. And the reason I say that, I was talking, this is a true story. A friend of mine who I knew from college was thinking of killing himself. And I was talking to him one-on-one in his apartment. And then, he was going off, he was doing that. And I go, maybe it's a good career decision, but it was so offbeat, so unexpected. He laughed. His mindset changed. He started loosening up. And then he made a joke about it too, how he should kill himself. And then the mood lightened even more. We thought about crazy ways for him to kill himself. And then with that lightening up, he felt better. Then we got to the point where he had to, I said, get some help. Let's really get some help now. Come with me to St.
So you're saying
Peter.
on a one-on-one basis, if you know
that worked.
you're talking to, like it could be a tool. However, when you work in the media world where like there could be potentially hundreds of people, if not thousands of people that could hear your words and potentially take them out of context or be offended by it. You can see.
I know. Well, that could be any. I couldn't work. Come on. It could be taken so many different ways. The context and speech. I no. And to say that I'm telling, when I said it, I go, when I joked, and it was so obvious I was joking. It was so obvious that I would never mean that.
I think that.
So I'm no. And I'm sorry. I'm not responsible for them. And to me, it's a precedent you're setting. If you're saying that, what's the next step in chilling speech? Because people get upset about anything, sometimes too much and stuff. And I really, if people, as Frank Zappa once said, I don't know, people do their own thing anyway. I wrote a song about using dental floss, tooth decay didn't go down. People
but you can't compare tooth decay to
me joking. Let's go back in time. This is what I said. I'll replicate it. I can't be you, man. You're too great. I'm the type of dude, if I was listening to your problems, I might say it's a good career move. You laughed and you said,
I get that. One-on-one, if you're talking to somebody that
that was one-on-one with you,
that you're close with, in like in the confines of a private conversation, and that person, what their turn offs are, then sure, people can say whatever they want. But you do know as a media person that your words matter, right? So like you don't feel that you have any responsibility? Like you said that I have responsibility, right? Because the
only reason I said that is because you first of all, you have 160,000 followers or something. You tell me people call you up and bare their soul to you and stuff. So yeah, so right now, and also you've said you're here to help people. Yes. You're not like a shock person. That's not your shtick. So for lack of a better word. Right. So yeah, and do what you want to do. That's your social contract. That's your emotional that you've made. I've not made that contract. Also, I've not even reached the numbers that you have. Maybe God bless.
I don't think it's a numbers thing. But even if it was, one of the things that's on your website, or not your website, but one of the things that you tout all the time, like especially on your TV show, like you were like, oh, we reached this many households in New Jersey, and like all the, and like
it was 10,000. It was 10,000.
Right. That's a lot of people.
But where are you going to draw the again? Where are you going to draw the line? I won't joke about suicide. I won't joke about sexuality. I won't joke about transcend. I made a joke about transgenders, and I said, God bless them and everything. But why is this a political issue? Am I supposed to go to every prison and make sure every prisoner gets this transgender operation? And I was making a commentary on the election and how Democrats are kind of blowing it because in Ohio they didn't really care about prisoners getting their transgender operation in federal prisons or caring about their own jobs. But my point is that make me anti-transgender? And can I? And someone's on the edge.
Right. I think that I hope you don't misinterpret me here, because I'm not saying that you have to censor yourself by any means. What I'm asking though is you can see why somebody would get upset though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Possibly. Sure.
Yes. And their feelings are justified.
Are you taking me into
I'm just asking, because let's just
the feelings are justified. So causally, then I shouldn't really do it if their feelings are justified and they might kill themselves. That's the cause effect Adam speech.
How would you feel if hypothetically somebody was watching your show and they just took it the wrong way and they took their life?
I would say I'm very sorry, but I'm really not responsible for that person, and I can't tailor, and especially me. And think about what I'm going to say next every moment, because someone's going to take their life. Now, admittedly, that's more extreme.
Should. We all do. We do that every day. Like if you're at work, you say, "Oh, you'll be like, I can't curse because cursing is not acceptable here."
That's work. I've gone into a different forum with a different sets of rules, which I've already accepted before I go into the workplace. I'm talking about my show.
Right. I understand.
You're talking about a very ambiguous, nebulous context is a lot. Right. Why did that person? Could they've done it the next day too when they fed their dog the wrong Alpo? I don't know. So I can't worry about it. I really can't. I wouldn't. Now, again, clear and present danger. If someone called me and I'm on my show and they think I'm thinking of killing myself, yeah, then I might not say it then, because that's obvious, stark in reality. not and then also it invites all these people. Well, I'm offended, and this offends me, and that offends me. I can't talk about. What about abortion? Get an abortion. Don't get. Where do we go from here? No.
I will caution you to be careful. That's all. I think that's what I'll say in that regard. Is to just to know that words matter, whether you think they do or not, or whether you feel that they are important or not. I will caution you because I get it.
Has this happened with you though?
As a podcast personality, as a person that puts themselves out there, and I have my things that I do, and you have your things that you do. But I also know that even though I do put myself out there as somebody that helps people, I know that my words matter, even if it's not something that I necessarily agree with. Right? I know that my words matter, and I do.
How can you even measure that, though? I mean, you might get response.
It's easy for me because I don't overthink it. Like, are there going to be times that I do and say some things that might upset some people? 100%, especially if they take it the wrong way. That happens, obviously, right? There's nothing that we can do about that. However, I think that there is this moral compass and line that we have to consider when we're talking about a subject matter that is as dark as that. Right, especially if we're trying.
Does that mean comedians shouldn't do stand up about it? I mean, that's a stand up joke too. I mean,
right. But also, one of the things that you said to me yesterday was saying that you wanted to reach as many people as possible, right? And I feel like you would be doing yourself a disservice.
Well, that could be true. That's a business decision. But again, I looked at it as humor, and this is where you also get in trouble. I think comedians who can't even go on college campuses. Comedians who convey things and look at things from a different light, like death. Comedians are like an antenna to look at things in a different way. They'll talk about death and talk about it in a different way and make jokes about it. Maybe they're making a point. Maybe they're going for a laugh, and maybe someone misconstrues it out there. Do they have to stop doing that though? I mean,
once again, I think you're taking it the wrong way. I'm not saying that anybody has to censor themselves. I'm not saying that at all.
That's what I'm getting though. You're saying though, but you wouldn't do it, and you would hope that I wouldn't do it. You wouldn't tell me what to do.
I said you should be cautious. I said you that.
We've gone from no. I thought you said before you shouldn't do it. But okay, you went to caution.
I said you should be cautious because words matter. Is what I said.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope we're doing good TV. I hope is this an entertaining conversation?
Yeah, no, this is a very entertaining.
I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, I understand. I understand exactly where you're coming from. I just think that you should be very careful.
Well, maybe I think I appreciate that too, because I might. Who knows? Even though I might not agree that it was my fault or not, that could happen though. Mm-hmm. That could happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's funny.
I just don't think that's something that you would want to live with, like that kind of.
No, I can't. I couldn't feel responsible. I just couldn't. Just like when I remember Beavis and Butthead. This is more extreme. They set themselves on fire. It's a silly cartoon. 2 kids in Indiana set themselves on fire, 14 and 15. And I remember the parents wanted Beavis and Butthead producers to apologize. I think they did for more legal reasons. I wouldn't have. I'm going like, this is tragic. This is bad. But your kids are not. Who sets themselves on fire because of stupid cartoon? I mean, that's how I look at it.
But once again, you are of sound mind, but there are people out there that are not, that are struggling mentally, right, with some things that they can't control mentally. Like there's people like myself that have to take certain, that have to go to
medication.
That have to go to therapy, that have to take medication because there are some things that happen in our brain that we cannot control. And then when we get pushed, mm-hmm, or influenced in a way like that, even if it's subconsciously, like I'm not saying that like people should sue, right? But like there is a weight of responsibility that I think people should understand that they have. And I know it's easy right now for you to say, oh, it's not something that I will have, I'll think about often. But I think honestly, as a human being with feelings and emotions, I think that you are somebody that would be on your mind. Well, that would bother you.
Maybe. Well, I'll give you this. The guy, Hank Azaria said he's going to stop doing the Pakistani voiceover and everything. And he's more agreeing with you. He goes, I'm not going to tell anyone else what to do. I did it long enough. At first, I was like, don't tell me what to do. And this is more agreeing with you. But then when he realized presently, since we have a lot more Pakistanis who live in this country now, that all these kids were getting, bullied with that accent that Hank Azaria did on The Simpsons. He said, I don't need to do it anymore. And in a way, I understand. So it's always a moving line. But he said what you're saying too. I'm not going to tell anyone else what to do. I didn't mean intentionally to hurt anyone. And I think we should be able to satirize anything. Sure. But I just felt personally, I don't need to do it. It's not going to.
One of my favorite comedians, Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock. These are all people that satirize that.
Everything is fair game.
That push the limits, and I totally get it. And they're damn good at it. I
want to be good at. I'm more upset if I'm not funny, and it's just like. Right. But I'm trying for a cheap laugh that falls flat. That's when I'd be even more embarrassed.
I think at the end of the day, once again, I'm not saying that anybody has to censor themselves by any means. I just think that people should always know that words matter, and that they can carry a lot more weight than what you may realize. You may think that you are a small fish in the pond, but there might be that one person out there that really listens to you, that really takes your words, that to you they're like nothing. It might be an innocent joke to you, but to other people that, I think we just have to be careful sometimes. That's all. Especially when it comes to something that people struggle with.
I'll just take it like this. I just give it more thought. I understand that.
That's all. So for those of you that don't know, I'm sitting here with Adam Bierman. He is the host of the Breezing with Bierman podcast, which was a TV show, and now it's a podcast, right? And you've gotten to interview.
It's going to be on Zoom too, and everything.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, and you got to interview a ton of people, including you got to interview people like Cory Booker, all this type of stuff, which is really cool. How do you prep for these interviews? What is your preparation like for when you're interviewing these people? What do you do?
It varies because sometimes it's almost like scramble. I find out Cory Booker's in town, or he's going to a fundraiser of a friend of mine because we live in Princeton is a big it's a ka-ching. A lot of politicians come through here in the area for money. But my point is, sometimes it's a scramble, and when I'm scrambling, I have a pretty good photographic memory. I read a lot. And I'll just go over my notes that I've taken in previous interviews with politicians, or even with someone like Cory Booker. You just let him talk. Like, why are you here? What are you doing? And then just follow the thread. The only thing I've learned is to shut. Like with you, though, I think hopefully we shut up, listen, and then react. Hopefully, ask something that's thoughtful, show that I listen, and leads to another question or statement.
Sure, that makes sense. What advice would you give to somebody that wants to do TV hosting and producing and podcasting, based off of your experience, because you've been doing this for a while, based off of your experience, if you know somebody that's like, hey, I want to do something similar to what you do, what would you say to them?
Well, especially when you're starting out, you have to get a team to help you. Usually that helps, with guests and everything else. More important, they don't have to be talented. They could be brain dead, but they have to show up.
Yeah.
The second thing is just be willing. Be yourself. You were saying that too. Just take it as a growing experience. Find out what your personality. Bring your personality into it, and then be yourself.
Absolutely.
And then grow. Absolutely. And then once you start growing, critique yourself. I'm talking from the ambience, how you look, how you talk, and everything. And then decide where you want to go from there. When I first started, it was really, really Wayne's World. And then I said, maybe I should prep a little more. Maybe I should write things down a little more, stuff.
Right. What's next for you? What's the next step for you? What are you looking to accomplish?
I want to be you, Kyle. I want to be black.
You want to be black?
I want to be black and you. That's how much I want to be you. Yeah. We're all black anyway, right? I mean, we come from Africa. We all have some gene in here.
If you want to be mean, that means that you're going to have to watch what you say, and you're going to have to be very careful, and you're going to have to know.
What medication do I take? But what medication do I take too? No, I'm basically, I'm a chameleon too. It's Mick Jagger. I'm not Mick Jagger, and I don't even think it's stealing. I've watched your show. From the way you open your show to your website, I'm stealing. I'm taking. I'm borrowing. I'm appropriating.
That's fine. I expect my residual check in the mail next month.
And then what I want to do is, like you said too, I want to. I have a producer who I'm paying real money to. Numbers are important. I want to go, how do I build my infrastructure, my IT infrastructure? How do I cultivate guests? How do I promote? To me, it's A, B, and C. I have an audience, I broadcast, and I communicate. I'm doing the communicating. The broadcasting is more like the infrastructure, building your website. The marketing is the brand. So I want to do all three of them and stuff. And also, I've always been keen to know what I don't know.
Sure.
And listen to people like yourself. I took notes after I talked to you yesterday about certain things, how you did your show, how you posed a question, and I keep it in my notebook. I keep it in my little notebook. I have my notebook of and stuff.
I feel humbled. I appreciate that.
Can I show you one quick video too?
Yeah, sure, of course.
You said do it in 2-minute things. During this pandemic, I don't know if you can see this. I've been standing on my head.
Oh, look at that.
Yes, and this is an ode to you. Because go to his podcast. You said 2 things you can do in 2 minutes to feel a sense of completion.
Yes.
I'm doing this for 3 to 4 minutes now.
Look at that. You're
Not only am I good looking, I have a 6. I'm trying to get a 6-pack.
How do you, Adam? My last question to you is this: how do you want the world to remember you?
I don't want to stop. I enjoy talking to you.
I know. How do you want the world to remember you?
Oh my God, that's too much morality. That's mortality. And that this is a sad thing, and this is where I do lack perspective because I don't even think about that, and maybe I should, because that's a question I ask a lot of people, especially older people. I've asked retired professors, politicians, how do you want to be remembered? Can you give me 3 words, a sentence, a poem, and everything? And usually they know something. I think I'm afraid to even say it, because I feel like I'm still looking for my first job, and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah.
One thing that's important to me is my family. I just, I live with what do you care about most? The people you're with the most. I want them to think, highly of me, that I did my job as a father. And of course, but who said that? Not Richard Pryor, but what's his name? The other comedian you were saying.
Dave Chappelle.
No, say one more, please. Chris Rock.
Oh, Chris Rock.
I take care of my kids. That's what you're supposed to do. No, but I guess definitely my family. I mean, because come on, no matter what, who am I with all the time anyway? Who would put up with me? So, I definitely want to be someone, and I took care of my, but your kids, that's the cornerstone of our civilization. I had a child, I took responsibility, and not that I should get kudos. And also that I was good looking.
That's fair. You want to be remembered for being a handsome gentleman. Where's the glasses?
Yeah. It's a burden sometimes. I do have a brain, but people don't always see that. But.
There it is. There's that handsome man.
How old do you think I am anyway?
61.
You looked it up.
Well, yes, of course. I know. I look up everything about the guest. You don't just come on my podcast and me not know anything about you.
No, I get off that some people sometimes think I'm 40, and you would have helped me out. Now I'm having emotional problems, and I might be thinking about suicide. But you can make jokes about it.
21 years old. Is that how old you are?
Anyway, I'm going over time. I'm going to keep talking. How much time do we have?
We're done. We're wrapping up.
Oh, we're done.
Yeah, man. No, listen, Adam, I appreciate you sitting and chatting with me about all of this, man. This was a lot of fun. Friends, if you want to listen to Adam Bierman, where can they get more Adam Bierman?
breathingwithbierman.com. Right now, if you just do Google Breathing with Bierman, we're starting at the beginning, hopefully in 6 months. This is actually my 7th podcast. We're waiting to get to number 7, and then my producer is going to put together all the platforms. It's going to be iTunes, SoundCloud, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And hopefully we'll go from there.
Nice, man. Well, I appreciate it. Make sure you go visit Bierman.com. I'm going to put it down underneath as well so people can go follow you. And if you want some more of me, you can follow me on my platforms, thevibewithkai.com. And you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter at The Vibe with Kai, where I'm always posting things that'll help you do good, feel good, be good, and live a good life full of good vibes. My friend Adam, thank you so much again for sitting with me. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching and for listening. As always, God bless and good vibes.